Hello and welcome to another episode of Literary Liberation Podcast. Today we will be discussing, analyzing, and reviewing Spread Me by Sarah Gailey. For more content outside of the podcast, please check out our Instagram and TikTok at Literary Liberation and Twitter at LitLibPodcast. We are currently fundraising for Code Pink, so the link for that will be down in the description below, so go check it out because they're still fundraising for Cuba and a variety of other humanitarian causes, and they're anti-imperialist, so they're pretty fucking cool. I'm your co-host, Mariah, and you can find me at Hungry Right on all social media platforms.
And I'm your co-host, Kristen. You can find me at 10stbr on all social media platforms. So, if you are not aware, at the time of recording this and at the time this is being posted, it is currently Pride Month. So we wanted to read queer novels for Pride Month. And Mariah had read Spread Me earlier this year and really enjoyed it. And was like, oh, we should read this for Pride Month. And I was like, okay.
Yeah, it's one of those books I kind of wish I would have held off on reading, but it was also like super popular. I kept seeing it on my For You page and people were like, it's a monster romance, but it's like really fucking weird. And I'll read like any alien or monster romance. Like I even dabbled with the Morning Glory Milking Farm this year. You know, I'm really reaching outside of my box. But this one was quite different. Now, if you don't know, Sarah Gailey is a queer author in Salt Lake City, Utah, which that's kind of crazy because Utah is very conservative, very Mormon. So I thought that was interesting. I don't know what pronouns that Sarah uses. So for the purposes of this episode, we are going to just say they, them. If that is incorrect, I'm sorry, but I did find a quote on this website, which I'll leave below, that says where they refer to themselves as a queer, non-binary, and disabled person. So I don't know.
I don't have their pronouns on TikTok.
I know either. It's not listed on TikTok. It's not listed on Instagram. It's not listed on Twitter. Their Twitter is completely private. You have to request to follow them, and I don't know why.
Weird.
I know.
Did you request to follow them?
I did when I was doing my research today because I was like, I have no shame. Fuck it. And I sent that request.
You didn't get
I don't think I got approved just yet.
Well,
I can go double check. So because I was trying to figure out their politics, and they seem to have pretty progressive politics. I mean, a lot of their works of fiction, because I've read 3 so far, lean like anti-fascist. They're very critical of like the bourgeoisie. I mean, they have a whole comic called Eat the Rich. So it's interesting. I just don't know what's flavor of left wing. It could be anything. It definitely seems better than like a rad lib, but democratic socialist at the worst, but like base Marxist Leninist at the best.
Yeah. But so we wanted to read this for Pride Month, and Mariah had read it earlier this year. And then also this author is going to be at the Columbus Book Fest. So that was like another reason why we're like, okay, 2 birds, 1 stone. We can easily like check out their work before we go and if you guys don't know, we're featured creators at the Columbus Book Fest. But so we've been trying to read as many authors that are going to be there as possible, and Sarah Gailey happens to be one. And yeah, I mean, this book is just like you follow kind of like a cast of people, queer people, all in like the middle of the desert, and they're investigating a creature they discover, basically. I feel like it's really short. It's less than the physical copy that I have is less than 200 pages. So I'd say really like it's a really easy read, and it's great if you're behind on your reading goal too. I think it reads really fast, so you can really bust it out pretty quickly, especially if you have the stomach. I don't think it's like too graphic or anything either. Like it's horror, but I wasn't really scared or anything. It was just like weird.
It kind of reminds me of Meg Smitherman's like Thrum,
yeah,
or Swallowed, or whatever her other like. It's like horror, but it has a little bit more of like substance to it. But it also is kind of like a retelling of John Carpenter's The Thing, so it has some really cool elements to it that I found interesting. Now, this book, despite it did get Vulture's, like the magazine, gave it one of like the best of 2025 horror, like in their list. I couldn't read all of the article. I don't know that it got anything else so far because this book came out in September of last year, so it's pretty new still. It's not even a year old.
But I think Sarah Gailey is a Hugo Award winner for something.
Has won a variety of awards for their
other novels.
Quite large amount of books. I was very surprised when I was looking at books for this author how diverse all of the genres are, because it's not just one thing. They're all doing different things, but I do think they're all gay, which, so, I mean, there is that.
Yeah. If you want one overlapping genre, queer is what it is.
Yeah, they're all queer, which is cool, and it slotted in really nice in here. And we did have a request from literally Moody on Instagram, who, after I had finished this, was like, "You and Kristen need to review this like as soon as possible." So here you go, my dear. It's here. We're gonna talk about it. Before we get into all the spoilers, this does have a 3.36 star average on Goodreads with 6.6K ratings and 2.1K written reviews. This is not their most popular book by any means, but this, I think a lot more people talk about this one because it's new, but also the vibes of it, people have been eating it up.
Well, because I hadn't heard about Sarah Gailey until one of my mutuals on TikTok was talking about this book, because I don't know, I might have sent you the video like way back, because I think it was like February or something, where like this person, they had also read Meg Smithereens' Thrum, and they were like, this book is like the same vibe as that. If you like that, you'll like this. And then I was like, well, Mariah really liked Thrum, so I'm gonna send this Mariah's way rather than, because I read Thrum, and like anybody that knows me, I'm not a big smut reader for one. I'm not a big like romance reader. I'm not a big monster romance reader. I don't really gravitate towards like romance in a like being the focal point. I much rather be like a subplot like in the background, but like whenever there's like a long-term like payoff. And I think with a book being under 200 pages, it will never be what I want in like a romance.
Either. I can agree. I think they read a lot of novellas, and I don't know why. I don't know if the other books that are more popular are full-length novels, to be honest, but I read the graphic novel. I've read this, and then I read Upright Women, which is a like weird kind of like dystopian Western anti-fascist. It's super interesting. There's another one coming out this year, I think. So, I didn't know it was a series, but that was also very short. So I don't really know.
Their most popular novel, it looks like, is Just Like Home, which this book has 344 pages according to Goodreads.
Okay.
And then there's also The Echo Wife, which is close in proximity to how popular it is, and that one's 256 pages. So it looks like you're just reading their novellas. But I wonder if they publish like novellas maybe recently. I don't know.
I'm gonna read the newest one that is coming out, which is why Sarah Gailey is at the Columbus Book Fair with our best. Yeah,
that's
so
432 pages. So that is also.
I have so many books on my TBR. I'm sorry. I'm trying to get through all of them. It's been I'm only 1 week into June. I'm gonna finish up my 4th book so far, and this is how it's gonna go for the rest of the month. This is my second book
for June, so
we have so much shit we have to do. All right, let's get into our spoiler-free reviews. I'm actually gonna pull mine up from Storygraph because it has been a while.
Well, I just finished this a couple hours ago, and I think I gave it 3.25 stars. Just because it was somewhat interesting. Again, I mentioned how this is not my genre, not my thing. It was very competently written. I don't think there was anything wrong with like the writing style. It was fast-paced and all of that stuff. It's just not a subject I'm personally interested in reading in, so it's not like I'm going to be like, oh my god, I have to recommend this to everyone. It was weird. It was gross and unsettling, and if that's what you want in a book, then I think it'll do great for you. But I was just like, okay, you know?
Yeah, I didn't know how you were going to receive this because you don't read romance, which I am hard pressed to call this like a proper romance because it
It's
really
not really
is.
a
It's
romance.
erotic,
Yes,
but
but I
it's
also don't
not.
read
There's not
erotica
romancing.
either.
You
But
know,
I don't
it
read
has like
erotica
those
either,
weird
so
elements. Yeah,
it's
I think
not
I
like
gave it a
for me at all.
4-star rating. I said it's John Carpenter's A Thing, but if it were horny, and I still stand by that. And I do think like
Which
the
I've
politics
never
of this
seen The
book are
Thing,
interesting. I know. I was
so
thinking about that right before we were filming. I was like, "Fuck! I forgot to give Kristen homework on top of reading this that you
because I
needed
was
to
like, I don't know if I
watch
need
The
to watch The
Thing."
Thing before reading this, which
I
I
think
don't
you
know
should
anything
still
about.
watch it because you
I
haven't
just
seen the
know
prequel, have you? That was
no
like the
the
new one.
prequel.
There's a prequel to The
Kurt
Thing. That
Russell, I think, is in it. The Thing. That's all I know.
yeah, in the original Thing, which I
Yeah.
think you would. The practical effects in it and whatnot are just they're great. It's such an interesting time, and the politics of The Thing are interesting. Ugh. So I'm gonna do my best to not spoil The Thing, but also talk about The Thing. Good luck to me. Anyways, you're entering the spoiler zones.
So you're following these groups of scientists. If they're cis, non-binary, queer, like every mix of the bunch that you could want. And they're all basically like, how many are there? It's 6 of them, and they're all like basically a hexagon. Well, I guess it'd be a pentagon because technically Kinsley, the main character, whose perspective you're following, is not interlaced with these people because these people are all in isolation for like 5 years or so, right? So they all be touching on each other and such without Kinsley wanting to be in the middle of it because I almost don't know if you want to say that like Kinsley was like asexual in a way.
I can see that. I can see that being surrounded by a bunch of like queer people, but kind of not knowing your place, but also because of like Kinsley is so devoted to her job because she has a peculiar taste.
Attraction
It
to
it's really interesting, but also like her job, like because they work at a research station in the middle of the desert, and like they're
mm-hmm.
researching the let me pull it up cryptobiotic crust in the desert, and this got like before we get into the romance, like this is like a really big thing. Like, why are they in the desert? What are they doing? Right? They're in the middle of fucking nowhere, like 100 miles or something away from like the nearest bar, because that's what they do. They go to the bar every like couple of weekends or something when the weather permits it. But the cryobiotic crust consists of like algae, moss, bacteria, lichen. There's a lot to this, which I thought was interesting because you need it, and the reason they're researching it is because they work for this company that like needs them to figure out whether or not they can build on this land. But if you disturb the crust in the desert, despite it seemingly like innocuous, it has like this cascading effect on the local like flora, fauna, ecology. Like it all ties back in together. So this is something that like climate scientists study too, which I thought was a really interesting job
Yeah.
to incorporate into this.
Well, because like it talks about how like what is under like the basically like that first layer of like sand and stuff like that. It's similar to like how the coral reef is like alive in the way where like how plants are living and things like that too. And then we've already seen like specifically, I don't think like the desert, at least like in mainstream discussions, I feel like they haven't talked about a lot with the like the devastation of the environment through like climate change and stuff, except for in the context of this book. But I know like the coral reefs is like a big discussion, like with the way that sea levels are rising, the sea temperature is getting higher and stuff like that. Which I wonder too with like the data center that's gonna that who's the billionaire guy? Mr. Wonderful. What the hell is his name? Kevin O'Leary? Is that his name? The Shark Tank guy? He's in Marty Supreme too. And he's like building a big data center in Utah, which is interesting because that's also where Sarah Gailey's from. But then there's been recent news too coming out where it was talking about, so he was going to build this big old data center that was going to use as much power as the entire state of Utah itself. But then now he's like, I've been bullied, so now I'm only going to make it half the size of what it was.
Maybe you should bully a little bit more.
That's what I'm going to say. I'm going to like keep bullying him so he doesn't build it at all. But it kind of reminded me of that, because if that's something that I don't know, like I know Utah is like within that area of deserty area. I don't know if it's as like deserty as like Nevada or Arizona is, but to me it's like kind of like the same context too, which I wonder if that's going to be something that we'll be dealing with shortly, because these companies are trying to build data centers literally anywhere and everywhere they can.
Yeah, they're trying to build one here in Oregon too.
Yeah, they're trying to build one in Kentucky as well, even though our governor was saying that he wasn't going to let any data centers be here in Kentucky, but I guess we'll see.
You know how there's a book, How to Blow Up a Pipeline, or the documentary? I'm curious when it's going to get like second version is How to Blow Up a Data Center. I'm just curious if the author 2. wanted to write that, and then if somebody else like...
Well, because there was even, do you remember, it was a couple months ago now, I think, or maybe a few weeks ago, where like this lady, where I don't even think she did all that much damage, but she was like, it was like this building was there, and this building was selling it to a company that was going to turn it into like a data center, and the lady like set some of it on fire, and then they were like, oh, we're not going ahead with the sale anymore. So it's like, it seems like the bare minimum is getting these people to stop, too, especially if Kevin O'Leary's already like reducing his data center plan size. So just imagine what a little bit more actual pressure could do from the people, like actual pressure. Not that I'm endorsing anything. Not that I'm endorsing any violence.
I'm not suggesting or endorsing anything. No, everything we talk about is just jokes.
And like maybe it could be really cool to read about in like a fiction novel. Because, we love reviewing fiction novels on this podcast.
Especially if the fiction novel was based off of a true event.
Yeah, like Uprising and Hypothetically Shirtwaist Factory. That's an example. Mariah's favorite YA novel.
All right.
But then also, too, I don't know, this book is really weird. Mariah was like, yeah, we should do this. And I was like, okay, I haven't read it, so you're going to have to take the wheels on this. And I was like, I was reading it, I was like, I have no idea how we're going to do a full Marxist review on this.
We can make magic happen. I thought, okay, so this book has like dual timeline almost, but it's also like flashbacks that are happening. Yeah. But there isn't proper chapters from my memory when I was going back through it. Is there chapter numbers, or is it just like a symbol?
Just like a little, like the drawing. Oops, I put my thingy on backwards, but it's like a little like crack.
Okay, so that's supposed to be the amoeba
the thing.
Yeah,
that's what it looks like. That is not what I was imagining.
That's either what it looks like, or it's what the thing that she keeps a photo of in her room.
I don't know.
That's my theory.
Okay, by the way, I think they, them pronouns is proper for Sarah Gailey because it says they're all in this part right here for them.
Okay, perfect. Oh, I love it when I'm right.
Yeah, I don't know. It was really weird. Well, because like this book, it does a lot too because it's not quite monogamous, but it's also like the way that these people are grouping off. They are kind of grouped off in a way too, but like you don't get a lot of in-depth into the relationships because it's Kinsley's perspective, and Kinsley does not really care about what's going on as long as they're all like friends and stuff, and they don't let like drama, which I feel like this is why like it's really interesting to me that there's not more conflict between the characters too.
Part of me wonders if it's because they're like a lot more queer, you know, like Kinsley got really lucky with the group of people that were incorporated
They
into
have to
this
check
group,
queer off
where it's
before.
like they're not quite like they're not polyamorous, but it seems kind of like they pair up and they'll separate and everything's decently okay with how they navigate it, but they're also like doing a job. And because they're so isolated from the towns, I totally get like why this would happen. It does happen in other jobs. I'm sure it happens like when people go to Antarctica and whatnot. So I thought it was quite refreshing because I think in John Carpenter's The Thing, it's all men. So it would only make sense if it was all men being there that they would be, you know, they're going to be written about in history as being like best friends. They were roommates, like, you know, that jazz. So I thought that was quite nice compared to The Thing, is it does have like that queer element, but it still has it's a lot. This book is very like allegorical in my opinion for like the lichen virus that's going around. The way that it's presented is interesting because it could be kind of anything. You can like see it the way it's its own character and it has its own agenda, but it's kind of obscure as to like what precisely it wants besides Kinsley. You don't really know what it wants to do with Kinsley because the first thing you're understanding is that it's attacking Kinsley's kind of most
closest relationship,
that also she kind of wants,
but she doesn't want any of the other people because she's not attractive to like human beings really, and you learn that very early on with her pleasuring herself with the photo of like a virus. And then like
which was just such a fantastic way to start off a book. Like I was like, stunned. Like I wasn't expecting that one.
Yeah. Well, because like it's almost like, which I don't know if this is like a real fetish, I guess. Are there really people that you think are like being sick or like, you know what I'm saying? I don't even know.
I remember reading something on like Reddit or something about people that like to get sick or who like viruses.
Because like everything exists in the world, you know?
Like Rule 34. Bugchasing.
Is that the subreddit?
Oh wait, maybe not.
Are they talking about actual
this
bugs?
one, bugchasing, is the practice of intentionally seeking human immunodeficiency virus, which is HIV. I have heard of this, where people will try to get as many like STDs as possible, which is...
I've heard of that, yeah. Also, a choice to have?
I don't really understand that. But I'm not going to...
Do you think that's similar to this?
I literally don't know. I don't know how to I don't know how to explain the attraction because it's just so bizarre and out there, and like maybe that was like the intention, was to find the most unconventional fetish that even like the weirdos that are reading this are like, oh, this is not vanilla. Like this is the strangest fetish I think I've seen so far in a book, and it's done it in like such an interesting way because the like cryo whatever crust is alive because it's part of that, but also it's like what she's working to study, so it kind of has this Lovecraftian kind of element where it's this unstoppable force that's around this kind of... she doesn't know what to do, how to stop it, right? Because there's like, that's like the whole thing. They get infected, they break down in a fever because they bring in this coyote that has been infected and it looks all fucked up, and then they all have to isolate, but Kinsley's the only one that doesn't get infected with this disease. And
because it's like a virus.
It's like, what do you do? Like, do you let this thing potentially go into the general public? But also, like, Kinsley's fighting against time because of the company that she's working for. She keeps like putting off her research because she doesn't want to leave the desert. She's very because she likes being isolated.
People. Yeah. Which I think it has to do with because she's not really even she doesn't really want human connection beyond a friendship. You know? And I think, I don't know, that's a really interesting... That's why I got like a lot of like really like asexual vibes, but then that kind of gets defeated because of the self-pleasuring in a way. But I don't know if... I'm not really well versed in like asexual like discussions either, because I'm sure some of them have like, I don't know, like they do
It's
something
got to be a
sometimes.
spectrum, right? Within
I'm pretty
asexuality.
sure it is. Well, because there's also like aromantic people too, where like that's all under the umbrella of it in different ways. And like I think like technically like people talk about demisexual following under that. But I'm
Anyways,
sure like because I do think like technically like asexuality does fall under like the queer spectrum as well. So it is a really interesting perspective to have, especially in a novel like this, because I feel like that's not I feel like I haven't read a lot of like asexual like perspectives and work.
no, and I don't know why. I don't know if it's just because it's so niche that the only way you're gonna really find anything about it is maybe on like a fanfic or like deep in like the files of KU, perhaps. Like, I don't think they're getting trad published or mainstream attention, which is
Well,
why
and I
I'm so
just
happy that
wonder.
Sarah Gailey is getting more attention because I think this is a really important thing to have, despite it just being like one novel in the scheme of things.
Mm, I don't know. It was a really weird book. That's like my resounding thing. Is like I was just like okay, because I even made like I was making Tyler read some of the stuff, and he's like, "What the?" I'm like, "Yeah, this is what Mariah makes me read." Just so you guys know.
There's just something like so interesting. I think it's like I liked the layers to the virus and like how it manifested. Like, I'm a very big fan of John Carpenter's A Thing, but this one I feel like the politics of it are a lot more flushed out, where you can kind of see like it's the way it's kind of like it's prioritizing like homogeneity, like it's trying to like conform and like meet Kinsley, like it's willing to just like do anything to be with Kinsley, but also because it's absorbing everyone, it has like the hive mind because it's all one
Yeah,
thing. It kind of
creature
reminds
being.
me, like I can see this being like another like anti-fascist book in some way, like it's like trying to appeal to her in the same way that like some of the themes in You Weren't Meant to Be Human were presented with the hive mind.
Mm-hmm.
It's a really cool concept to be presented, and like they're both executed in such different and compelling ways that I found interesting. Like,
Mm-hmm.
this book just needed to be longer and be a little bit more fleshed out, and it would have been an easy like 5-star read. I think if it was like 100 to 200 pages longer, Kristen, it wouldn't be one for Kristen because of like the
No.
eroticism I think in it, but
Yeah.
I think just amp up the politics. I think that would be really cool.
Well, because I do kind of wish that there, like, especially one thing that I love in a lot of novels
My
too
nose is
is like a
running.
found family aspect. And I do think like there were like some relationships, but I almost wish like we got more perspectives besides just Kinsley's perspective, which I understand like Kinsley's perspective is the priority and the focus is Kinsley's like relationship with the virus, but I personally prefer like having like a whole well-rounded thing, and I think getting all the different perspectives would have been more my speed to where I
Yeah,
could
or at
see what.
least like more developed flashbacks, because you only get like
Yeah,
a few, like when they
there'd
got
be like a
hired
page
and
or
like what
two
happened.
as well. Like they weren't very long either. Like it'd only be like 2 pages long of like, and it's not really even much context either. It's just like an extra conversation. Like this really could have been like a short story, in my opinion, for a lot of like things.
I agree. I think it would have been stronger as a shorter story, despite it being like less than 200 pages. So it's like it
A
is a
novella.
novella, but I think it should have been about 100 pages, and I
Yeah, or
think it
maybe
would have been
50, like between
really
50 and 100.
effective.
I think it could.
I
I
think that
think
would
it
be
could have
cool.
fit into the more like it almost like then I think it could have like fit in with like Eternal Rotten Romance, which I know Mariah liked that because that one was also like a really disturbing. I don't know what you would
Well,
call it.
okay, like that one, I thought it was just funny. I thought it was humorous. It got me chuckling,
It's
but
just
you would have
disturbing.
to read it to understand. It's like warm bodies, but it if it was accurate.
No, Warm Bodies is cute. I like Warm Bodies, but
No, that's why I think if it was real life, like this would have been warm
yeah,
bodies if it was a real zombie apocalypse. It's another one. I don't recommend that book to everyone though, because it's a lot. It's
Yeah, that one is
crazy.
really, but it is really short, which is the nice thing about it. So you could read it in one sitting.
Yeah, it was a lot more like it made sense plot line because it's such a limited cast, and like this one also could have, because I do remember when I was reading this, it did drag a little bit, because which is so strange because it is so short. I'm trying to think how I want to say this. I think if Sarah Gailey needs to make a decision and take a leap, either write a full-length novel or make it shorter, because I kind of felt the same way about Upright Women as well, because it's a novella, but it's not.
The characters aren't given enough time to develop and marinate in the way that, like, because like the first character to like basically get like possessed by the virus, I guess you could say, or like copied by the virus is Domino, and like you don't even get any time with that character. Like basically the first time you're really introduced to their character is whenever they're already possessed. So we don't know. It's a lot of, because you end up getting told then a lot as well of like how these people are supposed to act and why what they're doing is not typical for what Kinsley is used to them being like. It's so we're getting told a lot of these things rather than shown, like from like page 1 to page 50, where if we were able to get like a more established boundary of like how the relationships actually are rather than just being like told how they are, I think that could have made it longer as well, because then we would have seen the dynamics and then it would have been easier for like people to be able to identify who is getting possessed, I guess, by like, I don't even know, because it's not quite possession, but it's not quite like a copy either, because it's not like their body is ever
I think it's more like
decomposed in any ways.
absorption. Like they're absorbed and like they're not. It's like they're replicated in the same way. Like if you have like a boat, it's like the like the philosophical question. Like at what point does a boat not become? Yeah, it's no longer the original. It kind of feels like that, because every cell at one point has been changed, but it still looks the same. Is it still the same boat?
But then in this, it very declaratively answers that it's not the same. Like it's making that stance very clearly, where I think it maybe even could have worked better if it was more of like philosophical in that way of changing every ship part does make it the same boat.
Which I feel like is kind of where it starts off going, but then towards the end, I was a little bit lost. If I'm going to be honest, because I still don't really understand the ending of this novel, because it's been a while. But then I was reading back through, and I was very confused, right? Because you're at the very end,
like
where Kinsley is like
sucked up by the
I don't know what I want to do. I don't know if we want to like nuke this joint or what. And well, because she ends up like driving off, but then she lays down into the dirt and like becomes one. So it's like, what precisely does that mean? I guess is the question I'm proposing. What does the ending mean to you?
I don't know. Well, because I don't even like say I fully understood what. Because to me, the way that the creature was, like the entity, the virus, whatever you want to call it, it was low-key like creepy. Like it wasn't like she was unhappy. She did not want to like her friends' bodies to be used in that way. But then also like she still liked the thing, and to me it was like disregarding a lot of her emotions and what she wanted. You know, where I guess that could be like a metaphor of like how you change yourself to be someone else for like a person you like or the person you love, rather than being your true self, which is why that person liked you in the first place. But then it felt really underbaked in that aspect to me.
I just feel like it has so much potential. Like it has a lot of potential. And honestly, like if I were to go back through, I would probably re-rate this and probably give it like a 3.5 or a 3.75, but it would be like a soft 4 on Goodreads. You know, like because like I still think about this book sometimes. I'm like, wow, that was like kind of like a crazy concept for a novel, and the execution wasn't terrible. Like I enjoyed it, but I just wanted so much more. So it's like it's one of those books I would recommend to somebody. I was like, You want to read something weird? You want to get yourself out of a slump?
Yeah.
Because I know I recommended this to Evan at Left of the Projector, and he really liked it because he really likes The Thing. It's one of his top 3 favorite movies of all time. Fun facts.
Top 4 letterbox.
Top 4 letterbox. It's The Big Lebowski. It's The Thing. And then it's Starship Troopers, I believe, are the top 3.
There should be 4.
If I remember correct. I don't know what the 4th one. Maybe it might be.
Do you even know mine?
You're on Goodreads. It's
it's
it The Little Miss Sunshine?
Mm-hmm.
Is one of them, and then I know you have. What else is you? You had something weird on there. That was weird. Like, what? I don't remember that one being on there. What was the other one? Did you have Oppenheimer on there or no?
No.
I didn't know if you were an Oppenheimer girly like that.
I did like Oppenheimer, but not on my top 4.
Is it Bottoms? Bottoms.
No, Bottoms isn't there, but I do love Bottoms as well. But not top 4.
Is it Lady Bird?
Nope, but I do love Lady Bird.
What? Okay, I just know that The Little Miss Sunshine or whatever is on there.
Yeah, I have Juno, Heathers.
Okay.
And then Across the Spider-Verse.
That's right. Okay. I
don't know what you thought was the weird one.
25%.
Heathers?
I thought at one point it was different. I thought you had it changed at one point. Like,
I think I had a different, rather than Across the Spider-Verse. I don't know what it was before, but it's been Across the Spider-Verse since that came out, which was
I need to update mine.
2023. I don't know what else. It would be like Heather's adjacent though, whatever it was, or like I don't know. Maybe it'd be. I really love the movie. What's the one with Jim Carrey and
Truman?
No, not Truman. The other one where he's like
23.
No, where they forget
Mr. Popper's Penguins.
No, where they take the thing to forget.
It has the lady from
I can't think
the
of her name.
Titanic.
Yeah, Kate Winslet. Is that her name?
Yeah.
Yeah, that movie.
I know what you're talking about, but I can't think of what
I can't think of what the name of it is. I love that movie, though. That movie, like, me and Tyler watched that. We were, like, crying for, like, hours after we watched that
People love that movie.
Have you seen it?
Mm-mm. Surprisingly.
You should add that to your summer list. That one's really good. You should watch it with Brandon specifically, though, because you gotta watch it with the person you love, I think. That's what makes it hit.
Eternal Sunshine of...
Yeah, Eternal Sunshine of the Spotless Mind. That's a good movie. That's one I recommend highly, highly, highly. And then, of course, Heathers. I love Heathers so much. I could watch that movie like front to back to front.
It's fun. Okay, let's do a reach. Let's do a stretch. Let's do a thing. Let's connect it back to capitalism. How can we do this? How can we do? Let's give you something robust. What do you think economically this book is trying to get across?
Well, it was really interesting because the way that it's like a small group, but then Kinsley is still their leader, but it's ran very horizontally in a way too, where it's like not necessarily anybody has power over anybody, which I don't know how accurate that would work. Because obviously this takes place in some type of, like, I would assume capitalist society, because there's like pay and such, like different things like that are still, like, they work for a company, and I doubt they're being compensated properly for their labor. Because there is a scene where she's like having to message them to give them more grocery budget.
Yeah, so it's really weird. Like, the way the TQI is, like, the company that they're working for. So I imagine being somebody that is working in biology and working for a company like this to try to figure out whether or not they can, like, destroy the environment. Like, okay, what is, like, the cost of destroying this environment? So there's a lot of, like, ethical conundrums that would be presented with working in that job and knowing precisely what's going to happen and whether or not they're going to, like,
because I
have anything to do with it.
Think that it would be like, I don't know, almost like college research rather than like a company researching it, unless it's like the company specifically owns that land that they're on. But like, the way that it's
It's
discussed
like
is
a
like it's like
privately
no man's
funded. It's
land.
not like publicly funded. Like that's the whole thing. Is like they're privately funded, like botanists and biologists and meteorologists that are out there to try to figure everything out, which is
Boo.
interesting.
Boo.
But I like feel like that's the way it's going because so many different like divisions of like these science divisions have been so defunded by the US government that like companies would be paying for them.
But that's the thing too, is that we don't even know like if it's like what they're trying to end up building there. Like what is this company like their goal? You know, where it's one thing if it's their goal to try to make sure that there's more housing or more whatever, because it does talk about like during, because it does mention the Dust Bowl in the book too, where like it talks about like the overtilling of like certain like land, where that what is what kills the whatever the algae and like the crust and stuff like that, that specifically causes the problem for them to not be able to use it as farmland, because that's like one of the big things that happened like during the Dust Bowl in like Kansas and Oklahoma specifically. And so, but it's like I don't think like we already have so much like farmland and stuff used, especially in the United States and in other places in the world. So I really just don't. I do think it would have worked better if there was some more clarity on what this company was trying to do, rather than just like Kinsley being like, I don't care, I'm just isolated and that's good enough for me.
Yeah, I think it's really early on in the book where she didn't really want to pick up the job, was not interested until like they told her that she could be out. So she's out there for her own like selfish interest. Like she was like,
Yeah.
okay, at least I get to be by myself for 5 years, and she stopped asking questions about the job. But she and her team, this is what it says on the book. She and her team will study the life that lies beneath the desert. Um, that could certainly be destroyed beyond salvaging by any kind of construction that absolutely does not qualify as anything worth selling the rights to. They'll write down everything that stands to be lost so TQI will know what it's killing. And I do, if it was just like labeled as a data center, it would have been like way cooler. It would have
Yeah,
been way cooler. It would
which
have made more sense. It would have been a lot more applicable, and you could have more connections to it. Because this came out in 2025, like the data centers and stuff were a topical. It's been a topical discussion for like the last 2 years ish. I mean,
mm-hmm.
longer if you've been involved in like environmental like justice movements,
Mm-hmm.
or like you knew these things were happening. I just it's missing that. Like this could have been
Yeah,
taken a step further, and I think it would have been for the
stronger.
better,
Yeah.
or just make it shorter.
Yeah, because I do think like and that's one thing too that I think is so, I don't want to say like problematic, but it is frustrating whenever you're trying to like read an author's work, and even like the authors that are the most clear about their politics throughout it, like whenever you're reading like Denver Color Carl, for example, that's one we like to allude to a lot. Matt Dinniman is so clear in what he believes in that. And then even in Operation Bounce House, like it's very clear where we run into the problem with, like, for example, The Hunger Games, which is another deeply political novel that does critique fascism, but because of like Suzanne Collins' lack of wanting to use like the words capitalism and exploitation and things like that, it makes it so that right-wing people are able to just like co-opt it, because it falls into that populist aspect, where I feel like this could almost fall into that populist aspect as well, because it kind of gives you not enough of anything to have a strong opinion either way.
Which is so strange because I was like, okay, I'll read a couple more books. I knew I wanted to read the Eat the Rich graphic novel, and that one is very much more like specific
Mm-hmm.
about
I
like
mean, the
what its
title
intentions are.
itself.
I mean, the title itself, right? And it came out before this one, and the same goes for Upright Women. It's very clear, like it's set almost in like after the revolution. It kind of like gives that vibe, but it's like Western, so they're like riding horses and they're like librarians. And this woman's trying to like get away from her family that's like super religious, and if you're gay they like hang you. It's horrible.
Hmm.
Like it's really crazy.
But
Like
that
but this
seems
one
like,
is so like it close, but those books prioritize like the relationships and stuff. But this one,
Yeah.
I don't know why it
This one
wasn't
feels really
more
disconnected
focused.
from anything. It's like it walks up to the line but doesn't cross the line, which is, I think, frustrating.
And I don't know if that was like part of the intention was like, okay, this is giving you a little bite, like there's some potential here, so maybe go read my other backlog. But at the same time, like, why not just like take the leap and just trust that people are going to be okay with it, because it's
Yeah.
already queer. You know,
Well,
it's
because
not going to be appealing to Republicans necessarily. It's not like, who is this changing minds?
that's what's
Do you
so
know what I
interesting.
mean?
Yeah, it's even interesting to me that this is like Sarah Gailey's most popular novel as well. The ones that's like, at least from obviously what Mariah's read, is the least like political of all of them, where even that there are some like conversations there, but it's like the least compared to what their other novels are. So then that's kind of like scares me too, if this is going to be their most recently published novel and then they see how well this one does in comparison to their stuff that is more political. Does that mean that we're going to have somebody like fall down and like be more middling rather than having those more revolutionary politics that we enjoy in literature?
It makes me wonder, because there is a new book that's coming out this month, or maybe it might be out
I think it's already
already.
out. Or if it's not, it's coming out this week, I think. Or like I think by the time we record this it'll already be out.
I'm gonna try to read it and see.
Oh, yeah,
Make
it
me
is already out. It
better.
came out in May, it looks like.
Okay.
May 12th. Which this one is less
That
popular,
one's a cult
obviously.
story, which is going to be interesting. I think this one is just so popular because I see it talked about on Book Talk and Bookstagram all the time. I've seen the other book that has the house on it before, the Just Like Home. I've
Yes,
seen that one
that's another one
recommended
I've
before.
seen. But
And then I've also seen the Magic for Liars, which is the one that has like the fingers crossed on it. If you're looking at the screen, there's going to be a picture of it on the screen. I don't know why I'm showing that. Anyways, there's a lot of different books. I'm not mad about it. Again, despite what we have said, neither of us
yeah,
are mad. Like, we're
no,
not
like
mad about this novel.
it's
I just wanted so much more out of it.
and that's the thing too, is that like I did like the writing style. I think Sarah Gailey does have a very nice like writing style where it's very engaging and it's very absorbing to read too. And I read it fairly quickly, so like there's nothing wrong with like the writing style, but it's just like I just feel like it could have been so much more than what it was. And also like since I'm not like drawn to like what the subject matter is, I think I need it to be more for me to be able to be like, okay, this is worth like me reading something I don't necessarily am particularly drawn to reading, being that smut, erotica, whatever you want to call it.
So it's my duty to go through and read the books and see which ones Kristen would actually end up reading. I
Yeah.
I just throw like the weird shit at Kristen because I know Kristen does tend to fall into like, you have like your genres that you're comfortable with and like the
Mm-hmm.
styles of the writing. So I just try to throw you like a curveball every once in a while. So I'm like, hey,
Which
you should try this.
I do think this had good representation just within the queer characters alone. Like they're all queer in some type of way. There's non-binary, which I feel like you don't get a lot typically in most novels. You know, even like mainstream ones or ones that we typically enjoy. So this was nice to have.
It feels very natural. Like, I don't feel like it felt
Yeah.
super super forced or anything,
No.
but like
Yeah.
they just are. It's like you can tell it's like Kinsley is hiring people that she's kind of like projecting her own sort of. I feel like she like picked them out without realizing why she was picking them out, and like maybe she saw something in them, whether it's because of like the queerness that they all kind of had. Although I do think
Yeah.
there's like one straight man in this, if I
Well, I
remember correctly.
don't
I think I
know
could have
if he's
sworn, but I don't remember.
Jacques. Jacques.
Jacques.
I don't know if
He's
he's technically
French.
considered straight because I think one of the people he was with was non-binary. So, and I don't
Okay.
know if they were femme presenting or masculine presenting or whatever. But
Yeah.
he was a cis dude, I guess.
Yeah, I think that's sorry.
So there's
Sorry, that was
that.
my bad.
Just because somebody's a cis man, Mariah, does not mean they're straight.
This is true. I'm sorry. I'm sorry. But
I know Mariah
this,
has
I'm
some
glad we read
nonfiction.
this. Oh, yeah, my nonfiction recommendations that I have for
Yeah.
this. Let me pull those up really quick. Gotta breathe. Okay. My first book that I think that people might like to read is The Slowdown, The Degrowth Manifesto by Koei Saito. He is a Japanese Marxist. He also has another book that's called like Eco-Socialism, but this one
That
is
one you
probably
didn't
the
like
more
as much,
popular
I
one that
thought.
I've read it. I haven't read it.
Oh, I thought you didn't. Oh.
No, people criticize this one because he's
Oh.
gives a soft criticism of like the USSR and China because they're industrialized. But it's more so like trying to highlight why in a post-revolutionary society, you really have to prioritize like degrowth.
Yeah.
Not getting away with industrialism, but like that needs to be a priority because like if you don't have an environment, like
Yeah.
you can't sustain the masses because we are a very like overproductive society. So I think that's like a reasonable thing to talk about. Also, if you like Robin Wall Kimmerer, she has a book about moss, which might be a good one for you to check out. It's called Gathering Moss. That's a completely different change of pace, but it's lovely. It's nice. A Short History of Transmisogyny by Jules Gill Peterson. Very dense despite it being so short, but I think it's important to read about transmisogyny specifically because I know people will just typically read, I don't know, like queer fiction, but actually knowing like the history of not just like transphobia, but like transmisogyny specifically is such an overlooked like subsection of oppression that I think it does a really good job of kind of getting to the heart. And then the book on my TBR is Transgender Marxism by Johann Gilso. I think that, or Joanne. I don't know why I say Johann. Jules Joanne Gliso has been on my TBR for a long time, but I did see that the author of A Short History of Transmisogyny helps. I don't know if it was edit or contributed in some way or wrote a blurb. Something. There was something. And I was like, okay, I'll check it out. So if you were looking for something, it's probably going to be good. I think it's also sold on Verso. And usually nonfiction books that are sold and distributed by Verso are typically good.
I know. That's and then like the fiction, we did recommend You Weren't Meant to Be Human because we did review that earlier this year on the podcast. And I think there are a lot of parallels, but I think like if you like this, you would like You Weren't Meant to Be Human. But I don't know if you like You Weren't Meant to Be Human, you would like this as much, just because I do think You Weren't Meant to Be Human does a lot better job about the discussions that we wanted in this that were just not there.
And if you would like a review of that, we do have it posted.
Yes, linked below. Mariah will link it. Oh, and then we're also reading with our book club this month because it is Pride Month. We are reading Giovanni's Room by James Baldwin. And that's with our book club.
And I'm scared. I think it's gonna break me. I think it's gonna break me down and make me realize like what like good like queer fiction is, because it's like it's James Baldwin, like he's like a house name, you know? I don't know. I just feel like it's going to set a really scary like 6-star standard that I'm never going to be able to like find again. And I think that's what scares me the most. Is like it's gonna hurt, but then also
all of James Baldwin's work.
And then it'll be done. I think that's what scares me. It'll just be done. And I don't know what I'm gonna do with myself.
I don't know. That's what we have going on the rest of this month. And then don't forget, and about whenever this is posted, it'll be a month from us going to Columbus for the book fest. A month away. Counting down the days.
Literally, we're down to like 30 something.
It's a little bit more than 32. Yeah. Well, but see, by the time this gets posted, it's going to be less than a month. Other than that, if you're on YouTube, don't forget to like this video and subscribe if you haven't already, or if you're on any other podcast listening platforms, you can rate us or follow us. We post every Thursday. And other than that, thank you and good night.